Okay, first of all, let's talk about what do we mean by invisible, and then we'll address this to the question of apparitions and spirits and all other forms of, quote, invisible beings. What science has taught us, which I find to be utterly extraordinary, is that our visual experience, which is totally brilliant, only sees a tiny sliver of all the vibrations of photons that exist in the known universe. So if I look outdoors, for example, and I can see tens of thousands of rocks and tens of thousands of leaves and hundreds of thousands of hues of colors and shapes and sizes, it can fill my consciousness, my visual consciousness, with all these details. And yet all that complexity and all that experience is more than, I don't explain how tiny the sliver is. Let me give you an example of how little we see. If we imagine the size of the Empire State Building as reflecting all the known frequencies of light that exists in this room right now, and then we ask how much of those vibrations can we see with our naked eye? Okay? Do we see 50 stories, 10 stories worth of the vibration, 1 story of the vibration, 1 foot of the vibration? What science tells us is the amount that we see in our consciousness is smaller than the grain of sand. So what we are seeing with all this breadth is a grain of sand compared to the Empire State Building of vibration, of light. So most things that exist are, quote, invisible to us. Our senses are extraordinarily limited. Our normal senses are extraordinarily limited. But we can go beyond those senses when we develop certain higher forms of awareness and consciousness. We can also do it with science. In fact, what science can be thought of as the process of making the invisible visible. We take frequencies we cannot see, and then we transform them. We either increase them or decrease them and put them into the little grain of sand of the spectrum that we can see. And now all of a sudden we can see the invisible with technology. So once you become aware that most of what exists is invisible, and it's all light. It's all light. We're talking about just the vibrations of photons here. Then the idea that there could be apparitions, or there could be angels, or there could be any number of beings or processes that are not part of our everyday experience becomes extraordinarily plausible. We just have to then use our technology and apply it to these processes, these questions, these beings. And that's what's happening now in science. We're beginning to take this super sensitive technology, develop for other purposes, and we're applying it to these other realms.